Nan Kohler, who's an LABB member, is establishing Los Angeles' first artisanal grain mill in who knows how long, maybe forever. And so she's going to do a very brief report on progress that she's made and what she plans to do here in Los Angeles for bread bakers and other people interested in grain. Nan, thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Good afternoon, everybody. For those of you that were at the last pizza party in Eagle Rock, that's the first time we were all sort of introduced to one another, and the concept of a local flour mill was put out there in front of everybody. So I'm just here today to kind of reintroduce myself and to publicly. In the last month or two, we have made tremendous progress with the powers that be and the different important city entities, and we are very, very, very close to signing a deal on our exact location for where we're going to land the mill. And so we hope to have a great announcement concerning that coming up in the near future. And when that happens, we'll post through the LA Bread Bakers so that everyone can kind of track our progress and how we're moving forward. And once we are officially up and running, of course, it is our great hope that we will become a very active and integral part of the community of the Los Angeles bread bakers. To speak to Mark's, very quickly, Mark's, the topic of flour milling in LA, just a quick interesting side note, and the old original Capitol Millings, which is located in downtown, was one of the first 5 officially registered businesses when Los Angeles was formed. So there's great historic significance to having flour milling in LA. And in fact, when it closed in the late 1990s, I think 1998, at that time it was the longest running and established business in the city of Los Angeles. So pretty cool and very integral part of the community historically. So also, as Mark was saying, I think it's important for you all to know kind of our long-term goals and plans, and much of that really revolves around the revival and the planting of landrace grains and wheats in specifically the Southern California area. There's some experimenting outside of our realm that's going on in Northern California, but there's a vast community of farmers, and wheat was historically grown all up and down the state of California, and we have excellent weather, which means we can grow wheat year-round down here, so there is tremendous opportunity. And I know that the LA bread bakers are a little ahead of the game in understanding wheat and appreciating wheat, because when your main ingredients are wheat, water, and salt, you're very much attuned to the nuances of wheat and the flavors. But I can assure you, just with the working that I've been doing in ordering wheats from different resources and milling myself right now in a smaller kind of commercial mill, it is unbelievable what's out there for us. And I can promise you, you have no idea the fun that's waiting for you as we start to bring in more of these grains. It's incredible. It's a whole new dimension to all different levels of making. So we're very excited and can't wait to open the doors for everybody. And I also hope, it's our intention that as we're harvesting the wheat out in Agoura, that we can incorporate some sort of educational seminar or group thing where people actually watch us milling the wheat that we've grown out in Agoura. So that's something in the near future to also look forward to. So I'll just close by saying how excited we are, how great it is to see all of you, but especially now in the passage of the Homemade Food Act. I just really want to wish everyone good luck in your personal endeavors and launching of new businesses, and we'll be there for you. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. So a very brief overview of how this came to be, then I'll talk about the provisions, the basic provisions of AB1616, just so you have an overview of that, and then we'll open the floor up to questions. So, let's see. This is where it all started. This is a Los Angeles Times article from June 2nd of 2011. Until then, I had been happily selling my homemade bread at the cheese store at Silver Lake. And this appeared, as you remember, there used to be a Thursday food section in the LA Times. This appeared on Thursday, Friday, our friends from the health department descended like a ton of bricks on the 2 stores that were selling my bread. They said, we can't do this anymore. I was personally offended and shocked, even though it wasn't illegal. And I said, I have to do something about this. And so I did what anybody, a rational person in my position would do. I Googled it and to find out about selling homemade food in California, and there was absolutely nothing on the internet about that. But there was something called, I got a hit that said something about cottage food laws. So I investigated cottage food laws, and I found out that there were 18 states that had cottage food laws. And cottage food laws were laws that said you could make certain kinds of food at home and sell them. So I then looked up cottage food laws in California, and I found the Sustainable Economies Law Center, which is a group of lawyers up in the Bay Area that were looking into the same issue. Now, they're a wonderful group. That's Janelle and Christina, and they did a lot of work on this. We spoke about pooling our resources with the Los Angeles Bread Bakers and the Sustainable Economies Law Center. We were all willing. We had no idea what to do because none of us had done anything. We knew that we would have to pass a California state law, but we had no idea how to do it. I mean, I remember asking Janelle, who's a lawyer, I said, Janelle, you're a lawyer. You know how to write a bill, don't you? She said, no. I don't know how to write a bill. You're a bread baker. You know how to write a bill. I said, no, I mean bread. I don't know how to write a bill. So we were at an impasse there. We had no idea how to proceed. We just knew that we had to do this. And so one day, I was sitting at my computer, and the phone rang, and it was Mike Gatto, who was on the phone. He introduced himself as my assemblyman. I pretended I knew that. And I said, I want to help. What can I do? And I said, this is great. Write a bill. And because I explained the situation, but we had no idea how to write legislation. And he said, fine, happy to do it. And he put me in touch with a couple of people from his staff. And they jumped on board, and between the Sustainable Economies Law Center, the Los Angeles Bread Bakers, and Mike Gatto's staff, and we didn't do it. I mean, this whole thing started in really fall of 2011. Some of you, I don't know if anybody in this room was at the LADB meeting in the summer, the late summer of 2011, when we all sat around with one of our first thoughts of how the bill should look. And we were approaching it from the standpoint of bread bakers. What would we like to see in the legislation? And I just said, as long as we're permitted to bake bread at home and sell it, that's fine. That's all I care about. But then over the course of this next year, when we were working on it, I started hearing from people all over the state who were really, really not only interested in it, but really needed it because they needed an extra source of income during this terrible economic times. And so I realized at that point that it didn't really matter so much whether or not I could sell my bread, my homemade bread, if only it would help all these other people in California, because I frankly didn't realize what a huge interest there was throughout the state for this. And since that time, it's been confirmed, I've got slides on that, but to compress all this, it took about a year to get everything through the legislature and to get Jerry Brown to sign it. And then from there, went into effect January 1st, 2013, when people could first get their permits. I went to the LA County Department of Environmental Health. I said, I want to have permit number 1, because I put so much work into it. They were very, very helpful and very friendly, and I'm best friends with everybody at the health department now, as you'll see. They said, no, the best we can do for you is they gave me permit number, this is my permit, this is it. I got permit number 194,150. That's the best they could do. But that's all right. I'll take it. 3 months in it, that's fine. But that is, if you get your Class A or Class B permit, until they can actually figure out how to get the things printed up and what they're going to look like, because this is all new for everybody, this is what you get. And it's fine. If anybody asks you for it, you just show them this, and you're okay. But since then, this is the latest list taken from the website this morning. These are all the people in LA County who have their permits as of January 1st. It's pretty amazing. So that's a Class A at the top and Class B at the bottom. And I'm on there. Yeah, towards the bottom there. That's me. And so we can all sell our homemade food here in LA County. It's pretty amazing. And there's been a tremendous outpouring of interest, and it's to the point where we actually have our own Facebook page just for AB1616. And this is, as you copy that down, this is like a really, really good source of information, because this is people from all over the state of California who are doing homemade, trying to sell homemade food, are blogging or posting. That's what they say. And they, you'll see really how great we have it here in Los Angeles County. Because the idea is that even though this is a state law, it's implemented on a county-by-county basis, and we're at the mercy of our local Department of Environmental Health in terms of how it's going to be implemented. And LA County is doing a fantastic job. I just got to say that, because they are. I mean, they were on it from day one, and you read what's happening in some of these other counties around the state. I mean, we don't want to speak ill of their colleagues, but we could. And in terms of how much they're charging for the permits and how long it's taking them to get set up and go, it's astounding. And LA County is great, so we'll leave it at that. So there's that, and LA County even has its own website devoted to Cottage Food Operator. There's a lot of really, really good information on there. All the official information is right there. And so if you're interested in getting your permit, this is the place to start. Because maybe it's on there, but there's like just, click here to start getting your permit. And it takes you through the whole process. Now, okay, so that's basically the background where we are today. Now I'll just give you an overview of what the bill contains, just so you know it doesn't seem to apply to you, you can leave, no harm, no foul. What it says is you are allowed to make certain kinds of food at home and sell them. Now this list of foods is not very long, the permitted foods. These are not potentially hazardous foods. Foods that if you let them sit out on the counter, they won't go bad and kill you or make you sick. Now the nice thing, of course, and I make sure of this, is that bread is at the top of this list. So anytime you see a list of not potentially hazardous foods, bread is at the top of the list, as it should be. But there are other things besides bread, and these are all foods that are shelf stable. That is, as I say, you leave them out. They say my bread goes stale, but it doesn't go bad. You can do preserves, you can do cakes, and all this stuff is from the Sustainable Economics Law Center. Granola is part of it. I'm not sure what that is. That's part of it. Oh, it is? Cool. All right.
What is it?
Cookies or candies or stuff. And you can roast coffee, and there's tea, and there's pot. Okay. North is really big. And there's spice mixes. So if you look at the list, originally when we started writing this bill, we thought, okay, this is a fine way to increase not only the quality and the local control, but the health of the food product. It didn't really work out that way. I mean, because these aren't, apart from bread, of course, they're really healthy foods. Because you can't have any fresh vegetables, any fresh fruits, any dairy products, any meat, any of that, anything that will go bad, you can't include in your food. So I wrote this very, very stirring introduction to the whole legislation, which talked about how healthy things were going to be. And then people started pointing out to me that it's not going to be very healthy, and so I took it all out. But anyway, here are, I'll go through the restrictions. Here are the restrictions, okay? So, first of all, there's a cap on annual sales. This year is $35,000. And that means this is just your gross sales. And it goes up next year to $45,000, and in 2015 it goes up to $50,000. So that means it's just the total amount of money coming in, it maxes out at $50,000. There are very, very few people who can participate in this. Remember, this is supposed to be home cooking done in your kitchen, and that really is going to, more than anything else, is going to limit the amount of product that you can turn out. As we're saying, the development of this, doesn't necessarily mean how much money you can sell it for. It's basically what's the shelf space that you have in your house. That's going to be the big limitation. And it's also what kind of life you want to have. You can spend 24 hours on Sundays baking. You can only have your business owner, household family members, and the equivalent, one full-time equivalent employee. And that's the maximum that you're allowed to have working in your business. And that means if you have two half-time employees or four quarter-time employees, but there can be no more than one full-time equivalent. If you're doing indirect sales, there are two kinds of sales that you can engage in. Direct sales mean it's a transaction between you and the person who's actually going to be consuming your product. You don't go through a middle person. Indirect sales are products that are sold through shops, restaurants, third-party businesses. And that, if you're going to be doing that, you can only sell in the county of origin. That means your county, or if your county has a reciprocity agreement with another county, then you can sell there as well. Or if there are other jurisdictions within your county that are not under the jurisdiction of the county, for instance, Pasadena here in Los Angeles County, it has its own health department, and it's not under for this purpose, it's not under the jurisdiction of the LA County Department of Environmental Health. However, they have already entered into an agreement with the LA County Department that if you make something in your home in Pasadena and they have given you a permit, you can sell it anywhere in LA County. Likewise, if you make something in LA County and you're not in Pasadena, you can sell it in Pasadena. And there are two other cities in LA County that are like that, Vernon,
Long Beach.
and Long Beach. Now, do you have reciprocity agreements with them yet? So there you go. You're covered all over the place in LA County. What's next? Oh, the direct sales. That is, if you're selling at a farmer's market or through a CSA or directly person to person, you can sell anywhere within California. So if, for instance, you're making some bread here in Los Angeles County, and you want to sell at a farmer's market in Ventura or Santa Barbara or further to south, you can do it. But that's direct sales. And it's the one thing that actually doesn't show up anywhere in the legislation, and frankly, I think it's something that we just forgot. You're completely limited in California. You cannot do it. Indirect sales or direct sales have to be within the state of California, because otherwise you move into interstate commerce, and that's federal guidelines. It's different. You have to go through all kinds of conditions to do that, and we're not set up for it. So even though it doesn't say anywhere in the legislation that is limited to California, it is, and I think it's something that we should actually add to the legislation later on. That, where are we now? Oh, permit for the County of Environmental Health. All right, here we go. Class A. So direct-to-consumer sales only. This is the Class A permit, and this costs you $65. And what it does is it allows you to sell at these particular places, like in special events. You see it. And then the other one, well, there's no kitchen inspection. Sorry, when you do this. That means that all you have to do to get a Class A permit is fill out the form that you find on the website, send it in along with some other paperwork that's not very expensive, and send it in along with your check for $65, and they'll send you a permit in the mail. That's it. They don't come out unless in any case if somebody complains about your food, then they have the right to come and inspect your kitchen. And if they don't like what they see, they can take your permit away. Makes sense? Yeah, this sounds reasonable. What else? Okay, Class B. This means you can, if under Class B, you can do both indirect and direct sales. And so that's what I'm doing now. I'm selling through a store and a CSA. And it's working okay for me so far. We can talk about that later. Pardon? Oh, I'm sorry. That was $194.
Is it a yearly permit or?
What is it exactly? How long is my permit good for?
What was the question?
And how long, if I paid $194 for my Class B permit on January 1st?
Is it a calendar year?
It's an annual permit, but
The
our permit is fiscal. So since it's a fiscal year, starting July, our fiscal year starts. So since the law passed and it started January 1st,
So, and they didn't amortize it. We have to spend all 194, but it's going to expire at the end of June, and we're going to have to, I'm going to have to do another one starting July 1st.
and for a Class A, the law says you get one inspection a year. So that's what we cover.
When Class
I mean
B.
for Class B.
Class B, yeah.
So you get a one inspection, so either you
But is
pay-
that one inspection for a calendar year or for your fiscal year? Does that mean that mine?
So when we start July, we get a fiscal year, you get one to the year. So
You'll do another inspection starting in July?
you may not get one, but yeah, probably.
Okay, fine. But we'll see. We'll see. But that's, yeah, glad we figured it out.
Sorry, could you just repeat that specifically? If you have a permit, when does it start?
Okay, if you get your permit right now, it's going to expire June 30th, and you're going to have to get another one starting July 1st. And the county needs the money, so they're not going to give you a break on it. It's like you pay your 65. If it's Class A, it's $65. If it's Class B, it's $194, and you'll have to do it all over again in July.
But it only.
It'll never happen again.
Only Class A
Right, it will never
expires.
happen again.
I'm sorry.
Only
It's
Class
just
B
because the
expires
laws
in June.
Oh,
Class A is calendar.
It seems blatantly unfair. I'm renting for what? So mine's going to expire and get 65. Okay, the Class A is going to be good for an entire year. Class A will be good for an entire year. Class B, on the other hand, is going to expire June 30th. So anybody in this Class B who has gotten a guy I rushed right out, God, I thought it was a great idea. I should have waited.
It's just like the first.
Yeah, and then July 1st, it starts over. So,
Is it accurate to say that if you get a Class A permit, let's say today, it will
Right.
expire 1 year from today?
right, 1 year from today, is that right?
Class A.
Right.
Class A.
Class A, 1 year
So
from
it's a
today.
calendar
If
year.
you get a Class
B.
B permit today, it expires in
June
No,
30th.
fiscal.
And will that be true also, let's say November 2013, you get a Class B permit, it's still going to expire on June 30th, or will it?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
So it always will be the case that Class B is the fiscal year, and Class A is 1 calendar year?
Right now, yes. We're in the process, we may change and go everything on calendar, but at this point it's on fiscal.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Hold on a second. Let me just want to finish the spiel, and then we'll do much more intense questions. Okay. With the Class B, they do have to come out and inspect your kitchen. That is the big difference, price difference too, renewal. Class A and Class B, they have to come out and inspect your kitchen. I have been through it. It was painless. Let me tell you. They had sent 2 inspectors because I really think. I may be wrong, but I really think I was the first home kitchen that the department had inspected for this, perhaps in the state. I mean, they came out, I think, on the 3rd of January, and they're very nice. We all went through it together because they weren't exactly sure what they should be looking for, and I wasn't sure what they should be looking for either. We went down to have like what's called an OIR, an official inspection report. And I think it's up there now. Isn't it on your site? The official inspection report?
The sample.
The sample. It's on your site.
There's
You can
something to
download
look
it.
at.
So basically what they'll do is they'll take that official inspection report and just walk around your kitchen and make sure that, you're doing everything that you're supposed to be doing on the official inspection report. So my advice is get it a few days ahead of time, go around your kitchen, make sure everything is in. And one thing I remember that they did is they basically tested my hot water to make sure it was a certain temperature. And then, everything else looked reasonably clean and nothing was an apparent violation. But read it very carefully. We can go over this in terms of more of the details that they're looking for. But the kitchen inspection is needed. And let's see. Okay. This is the other big issue of which you should be aware. One of the things that's required of everybody who gets a permit, either Class A or Class B, is they have to take a food handling course. They have to take a course in actually how to deal with food in a safe manner in their own kitchen. It was written into the legislation that this course had to be developed by the California Department of Public Health. And you have 3 months, I think, 2-3 months from the time that you actually get your permit to take this course. Well, the problem is the California Department of Public Health, which is supposed to run this course, did not get a budget allocation for it in this fiscal year. So they said, we can't do it, we're not going to get the course together in time in 3 months. So, in the meantime, you have to get a food handler's card. And it's a requirement now. In fact, the department, the county department just sent me an email yesterday or the day before saying, we have you as one of our permittees, we have to have on file your food handler's card, please email it to us. And they did. And
Well, I might say something, Mark. Actually, interrupt you for a second. It just occurred to me that we have an instructor in LABD who does the safe serve instruction. So if there were enough people, we might be able to put together a class. That's
right. Is it ANSI, though? ANSI. It has to be an ANSI certified course.
Yeah.
If it is, then it's fine. And I did it. It took me about 40 minutes online, and you just basically Google LA County Food Handlers card, and you'll get a slew of different courses that are offered. You can either go somewhere and do it, or you can do it online. As long as it's this is the bottom line, it has to be ANSI certified. Because that means it's a legitimate class. And it costs $15, something like that. And then once you're done, you take a test online. And then they say, congratulations, you passed if you answer most of the questions right. And then they just, you download your card, and then you email it into the department along with your application. You're good to go. And it's just a good idea to have this card because it's, you're going to learn more than you need to know about cottage food because the food handler's card really is for people who work in restaurants and deal with potentially hazardous as well as not potentially hazardous food. But sometimes in home kitchens, they can mix in a way, like you use the same cutting board for raw chicken as you get a food handler's card. You have to have it. That's all we're saying. And that's something that we advocated for strongly, and they followed our advice. Okay, labeling requirements. This is the last part of it. I'm going to do this briefly, and then we'll get into the question and answer. So you guys stay with it. All right. There are very, very specific requirements for your label on your food. You have to have the name of the product, and all this stuff is actually available on the website. So the name of the business, you have to put your registration number on it or permit number. Either way. Then you have to have a list of ingredients in order by predominance of weight. That means, with our bread, it's mostly flour and water or whatever else you put it in. And then, this is very important, you have to put made in a home kitchen in 12-point, at minimum 12-point type has to be on the label so that people know that it was made in a home kitchen. Now, if your homemade food, like mine, does not have, despite what we'll see in a second, mine does not have any labels on it because I sell at shops and CSAs where they don't put labels on it. What they do is they wrap, when you buy one of those bread, they wrap it in a piece of paper and give it to the customer. You have to have the same information on a sign prominently displayed at the point of purchase. So at the store where I sell it, and CSA where I sell it, they have it there. You know, they all know me anyway, so it's great. So anything else?
What's the CSA form? I'm sorry.
Oh, community supported agriculture.
Community support.
It's community supported agriculture. It's the CSA. And then this is the other important piece here. If your name and street address are not listed in the white pages. Remember the white pages? This is a federal regulation, and it hasn't changed in probably 80 years. You have to put your street address on your label if you're not listed in the phone book. If the street address is not listed in the phone book. And this is true for any food manufacturer in the country. So even, Hunt, Wesson, and all these things, if their street address was not listed in a phone book somewhere, they would have to put their street address on, the Wonder Bread or whatever the hell. And the same thing with you, because remember, you're becoming a small business that's producing food. You're doing it at home, but you're still, you're still a home food producer. And you have to abide by all these different rules and regulations. And this is one of them. Now, luckily, I'm one of the 6 people in Los Angeles who is listed in the white paper. I don't have to put my street address on my label. And I'm not going to, because I don't want my street address to go on the label of my food. So I would suggest, and this is another issue that we're going to be bringing up, because there's so many people now. Again, I think there's 6 people who still have a landline. They just don't have landlines at home anymore. And as far as I know, there isn't a directory for cell phones. I mean, I don't know. But anyway, that's something we're going to have to work on. But as things stand right now, if you're not in the phone book, you have to put your street address on your label.
Is that your business is listed on your permit? Like, because or can your personal names? My name's in the phone book, am I good?
We answered this, but I can't remember what the answer was. I know that you guys provided the answer to it, the health department, because this came up last time.
Whether your DBA, if it's listed, your business name, or your name.
Your personal
Either
name.
one's okay.
Oh, well then.
So DBA is okay too?
I have a quick question.
Yeah, either one's listed. These are the labels for my bread. This is the shameless self-promotion. But this gives you an idea of how it should look. And we'll get into them maybe later. But it's a beach, so you have to, nobody knows what beach is, so you have to describe what it is underneath. There's traditional French bread. The ingredients, those are the only ingredients I use in my beach. And then this whole thing about, have to be, say, made in a home kitchen, I see it as a huge selling point. So I'm not going to say, made in Mark Stambler. I'm going to say proudly made in Mark Stambler's home kitchen. Because the idea is that this is a unique product. I mean, there are not that many people out there who are selling homemade food. It was illegal until a month ago. So I say, milk it for all it's worth. And so that's bigger than 12 point tithe, I think it's 14 point, but it's the idea is, but then you also, even though you don't have to put your street address, you have to put the city and state in which it was made. And so I put the LA 90027, that's my zip code. And then that's my permit. And that's what has to go on your label, right there. That's it. Okay, now let's see, I think we're, all right. Now, we move out of the area of the health department, and there are other clearances and permits that you need as someone who is actually producing food. Regardless of whether you're doing it at home or not, you need to talk to some other departments in the city of Los Angeles. First of all, you need to call, well, I've already done this for you. If you live, this is all for the city of Los Angeles, because I live in the city of Los Angeles, and so I checked this out just to see what else I would need. You have to get in touch with the planning department, the LA City, because you are now starting a home-based business in the city of Los Angeles, and there are ordinances that govern the operations of home-based businesses. And I spoke to a very nice woman in the planning department, which is also basically zoning. Hold on, zoning. Yeah, this is the zoning department. And she said basically this: I'm sending you the municipal code that governs home-based businesses in Los Angeles. Read it, make sure that you're following it, but remember it's basically common sense. You don't want to disturb your neighbors. If you disturb your neighbors and somebody complains about you working at home, we have to come out there. We're probably going to find something wrong, and you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So you can't put any big signs out front. You can't have people like descending upon your home at all hours of the night. You can't be making a lot of noise. And it's all in there in the code. And there's probably a link to it somewhere. I mean, if necessary, just post something on LAPD, whatever, meetup, and I'll send you the code for it. I've got it. Okay, so that's very important. You got to make sure that you're living by the LA City Code. Next, you have to call the LA City Finance Department. You need to get a business tax registration certificate. If you are going to be going into business in the city of Los Angeles, you have to register with the City Finance Department. This is our license to do business, particularly a home-based business in Los Angeles. Now, the deal with this, it doesn't mean you need to pay tax, because the first $100,000 of gross income in the city of Los Angeles is tax-free. There's no city tax on it. So you do have to register, so that you have to renew the registration every year. It's an online process. It doesn't take very long, but once you're registered, they know where you are and they know where to find you.
Is that the DBA, the State Board of Equalization?
No, that's completely different. And this is the city, and it's city tax. State Board of Equalization is state tax, and state tax, there's no state tax on food. If you sell food, you're not liable for any tax.
How much is that certificate?
It doesn't cost a thing. Oh, no, wait. I don't think it costs anything.
That's great.
Yeah, thank you. I don't remember paying.
2 months ago, if you're late, you have to the 15th of February, then you pay a penalty, which is like $50.
Oh, right. Yeah, you have to renew it every year, and they give you a certain grace period for renewing it. But you're right, there's a penalty.
So Mark is only if you live in the city of Los Angeles?
It's just in the city of Los Angeles.
So if you live in a different city, then you got to go to that.
Yes, you have to go to their finance department or their business license department. Let's see. Oh, product liability insurance. If you're planning to sell at a farmer's market, most farmers markets, if not all farmers markets, the certified farmers markets will require a product liability insurance. And it's not a bad idea to look into getting that as well. Because remember, even if you're not selling at a farmer's market, you just have to remember that even though you are a cottage food operator, you're a small business person, and you kind of operate like a business person. You've got to take this very seriously, because there's money involved, there are liability issues. God forbid something should go wrong. It really, in this case, it shouldn't, but it never should. But the idea is that this is not potentially hazardous food. There's very, very few foods that you can actually make under this legislation. So nobody should really, if somebody's getting sick on what you're making, you're not making food that's on the list. And that's when the health department's going to come and shut you down, because it's going to take a lot to get somebody sick based on what you should be selling. Now,
does that also include something like, you're eating granola and it cracks your crown or something like that? And then somebody comes out maybe because of that?
Yeah, it's product liability for anything. Yes, absolutely. And as I say, if you want to, in farmers markets, if you're going to go into farmers markets, they're going to have their own set of requirements. And as I say, the product liability is one of them. They may have other permits that you need to get, but that's not the health department. That's the farmers market, and you have to talk to the farmers market manager to get it all figured out. And I guess the screen went blank, so that's the end of my presentation. Now, for the last hour, we're going to open it up to all questions to our two representatives of the health department. Thank you so much for sitting so patiently through this. I get to shut up and these guys, and we can talk to these guys, because they know a lot more about